forgot my microphone. Oh, well. All right. Welcome. Just getting everything set up. I'm waiting for everyone to dial in that's able to dial in. Okay. Hello, hello. This is Éoaccí and welcome. Welcome, everyone. There we go. I'm just going to finish setting up while everyone's dropping in, and if you would like, drop in who's here, where you're tuning in from. You just want to say hi in the chat, that would be awesome. I always enjoy seeing who is tuning in and where they're tuning in from. All right. All right, just gonna wait a few more minutes just to give, usually at about 5 minutes or so. It takes a few minutes for it to get out there. So for those that are here, if you would like to drop in, share how you're feeling, what you're noticing, or not. Or share, like I said, just share who's here and where you're tuning in from. That would be awesome. And I'm looking forward to bringing this through. This is kind of a continuation of an activation that I brought through for my group space on Saturday. There are some aspects of it that are obviously filtering in here because, well, that's just part of the energy. Hello, Eliza. Hello, beautiful. I am so grateful you're here. And because of that, we're going to have some experiences with the channel and opening aspects of it, activated aspects of it. Of course, for those that are in my group like Eliza, you know, you guys know how intense that was. And I'm really hoping that it gives others an opportunity to experience a little bit of what that's like. And also with that, it's not going to be as intense because I really can't bring it through at that capacity here, but I can bring it through at the greatest capacity that's available for the collective and the collective contract. I'm going to speak into a little bit of what I typed in my post on Instagram, which was speaking into the embodiment of the channel and guides. And then we're going to go into it. And the entire time today, it's going to be an activation of the central channel. It's going to be an activation of the cellular. We're going to be moving through a cellular dump. There is a lot that is available for us to anchor into. And what I'm going to speak into is directly correlated and related to, what we're able to anchor into, what we're able to embody, and what we're able to receive in terms of these frequencies, these plasmic currents, and how that is correlated, how the capacity of that is correlated to the inner channel, an embodied channel. What does that mean? You guys have heard me speak about speaking into guides and the relationship with the guides and the differentiation between this nuance of having guides available, and why you've heard me. I'm going to speak into more of why you've heard me speak into it in a way that speaks about them not being present, because for me, I speak into it from a space where I exist, what I have experienced, where I am in my mastery and embodiment. And so for me, I realized the more that I spoke into the aspect of guides and our relationship to them, that there was a difference. This was coming from my own libraries of consciousness. I was able to receive why there are those that are still connected to guides. And, I'm sure more like myself that are no longer connected to their guides. This doesn't mean they, like, if you are approaching it from a place like, oh, well, I've never talked to my guides, or I've never met my guides, or I've never seen my guides. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm speaking about it from a space of where those contracts have been fulfilled, and the difference, and why it's important, why that pathway of fulfillment is important for this incarnation. So welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I would love to hear from anyone else that's here that would like to drop in the chat before we get started. If you would like to let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from. If anyone is joining me here from Instagram or Facebook, please let me know in the chat. I would love to see you or anyone else from my group space. It's been raining here and my hair is all frizzy and frizzy and stuff. But it's been really nice to have the rain. It's been very, very nice. The rain always hits around, there's always some sort of weather phenomenon, shall we say, anytime there is an activation such as this, or an integration such as this. It always happens. Welcome, Christopher. So, welcome, everyone. So grateful to see everyone here. And again, for those of you, if there's anyone new here that hasn't tuned into my channel before, my name is Éoaccí. That's one thing I normally forget to say, and I do have those that have approached me recently that are, how do you say your name? I want to be sure I say it correctly. So, Éoaccí. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I thank you all for tuning in. I thank you for joining, and I thank you for choosing to be present here and receiving. So, we've got a lot of really amazing stuff here today, as always. I do want to start off by speaking into a few things that are applicable to the activation, and that are applicable to our receiving of the activation and the cellular dump and the expansion of the central channel. So first, let's talk about the central channel. Anytime we hear people are channeling, or someone is channeling, or there is a channel, what are we speaking about? Well, a channel can come through in multitudes of ways. We have channelings that happen from our psychic or our clairs, where we're picking up on the field of energy. And from the field of energy, there is a presence. Thoughts. Thoughts are entities. And therefore, if we carry a belief or a collection of thoughts, it is an entity. It's a form. It has a form. This is why you will hear me speak about having an awareness of your thoughts and your beliefs and their correlation to
your highest, because we can pick up on beliefs and thoughts and they can be perceived as something other than what they are. This is why you've always also heard me speak into why, when we're speaking into terms of connecting into the psychic field, we have a psychic field that is directly correlated to the collective and collective beliefs. For instance, I see a lot of posts right now, and there have been, connecting into dragons, connecting into dragon energy, connecting into angels, angelic energy. Now, I'm not, when I speak into what I speak into following, I am not discounting or negating that celestial ancients exist. I am not discounting or negating that there are such beings that exist out there that express or are present in a way that looks like how we perceive dragons and angels. When you are picking up on dragon energy or angelic energy, are you picking up on them because others are? Is it because it's in the collective field of the psyche? Are you really picking up on it, or are you simply reflecting what others are believing that they're receiving? Are you picking up on it because you have chosen to identify the frequencies in this way because those beliefs have been carried down from generation to generation, from, story to story, from teaching to teaching, which again, I'm not saying isn't true. My question is for you individually: how do you distinct what you see and what you understand? How do you know that that is what it is? And therefore, it is very, very important to realize that the embodiment of our channel gives us an opportunity to access energies in a different way. And we embody our channel by mastering our energies, by mastering ourselves, by mastering our perception. When the dragon energy started presenting themselves recently, and there were those speaking into it, for me, I hadn't picked up on dragon energy. I was picking up on specific cosmic frequencies. I was picking up on incoming currents of electromagnetic waves, but they were not presenting themselves as that identity. Now, the reason why is because for me, as I moved through the embodiment of my channel, it was necessary for me to release any identifications of frequency, any beliefs about what I perceive those frequencies to be, in order for me to be able to perceive them without the need for them to be something specific. That process is gone through. And when you embody your channel, you also begin to release your contracts to your guides. An embodied channel is one that has fulfilled their karmic cycles. The channel is wholly and fully the unity of the soul, the mind, the body, and the soul, or it is a consistent upward ascension into the layers of the mind, body, and soul unifying, which means there is no more aspects of self that are projecting out here. All aspects of self are fully in here. Now, when people channel, they will say it's coming from in here because it's me. A lot of times, however, the nuances of perception have yet to be experienced. They have yet to be addressed, because the really interesting thing about ego and identifications and identity is that the ego is not going to show you everything. So if you witness something within yourself, if you're not reflecting it or expressing it out loud, to have a witness, to a mirror, then there's some aspect of your ego that is going to prevent you from seeing the fullness of yourself, the fullness of your belief. And so an embodied channel is also a process. If there is no one that you're connecting to that can consistently reflect to you what you yourself are reflecting and perceiving, then you don't really have an opportunity to gain the full access of the mirrors of the heart. The mirrors of the heart are the mirrors of the heart because the heart is connecting openly, it's expressing openly, it's in full surrender and allowing, and no matter what identity of self is showing up to express, it accepts it for what it is. It can only accept it fully if it has a mirror to bounce back off. This is what we're shifting into in terms of our connections with others. We are shifting out of karmic lesson group relationships and cycles into service connections or soul contracts that are held and are working in service with each other. We're cycling out of those ones that would bring us lessons that would be based in previous karmic choices. So our Akash can only be inherited when our cycled lesson groups are able to close out. Therefore, you are able to embody a higher currency of yourself. You're able to embody higher frequencies of the planet, the incoming cosmic rays. When this begins to happen, you begin to gain access, you begin to unlock access to the grids, the electric magnetic currents of the planet. These are the higher overlays. The higher overlays are only accessible when a soul is on its path to ascended unity, which means it has a mirror. It has a higher mirror itself. It's of self. It's connecting into another self that has already mastered layers of self, which give it that reflection. Where it can speak into what it is seeing, what it is perceiving, and then another self, another soul, another person can reflect back what really is there in the fullness of the self. For instance, in a one-on-one, I was working with a beautiful sister, and she was expressing to me some trauma that had been present in her awareness. And this trauma was coming from when she was in elementary school, junior high school, all through high school, and the trauma had come to the surface since our last one-on-one. And as she was speaking into it, as she was speaking and expressing the stories, the first thing I asked her was, why are you choosing to relive the story? Because when you tell the story, you have an emotional connection to the story. That is your first lead in to reliving that moment in time, is repeating the story. However, if you step into a perception that is different of the situation, if you choose not to perceive it as traumatic, but you choose to perceive it as something that is a blessing, that you are grateful for, that you are accepting of, and that you love that it happened. You love that it offered that lesson. You love that you can go and review that version of self from a state of love. Then when you actually speak the story, eventually there's no emotional entanglement. So that version of you that was trapped in that moment of time, because it's not the physical action, it's not the event that is traumatic. I was in a very abusive relationship. My ex tried to kill me. It wasn't the abuse that was traumatic. It wasn't even him that was traumatic. It was my perception of myself that invited in the trauma, that created the perception of victimhood, that created the cycle of perpetrator victim. And therefore, if I chose to view those moments in time as a victim, then I would relive the trauma. If I choose to review those moments of time when they appear from a state of neutrality, where I am not the victim, where I'm the victor, I have already ascended and transcended that moment in time. I no longer need that moment in time to teach me something. Therefore, I can accept that aspect of me, and I can love that person that showed up as the perpetrator to show me what it was like to be a victim. Because a victim only is a victim because they invited in the perpetrator. They themselves are the victim and the perpetrator. So the trauma is consistently cycled through us because we hold a belief of that version of us that remains stuck in that cycle of time. And if we are not openly expressing ourselves, and I mean every day, if we're not applying our awareness in every moment of every day, then we are not viewing our fullness of self. We are viewing from a linear perspective. And linear means one perception from one specific aspect of self, from one personality, from one moment. Our multidimensionality comes from gaining different perspectives because we choose differently. Therefore, we cycle out of lesson groups and we cycle out of time and we move into no time, the eternal now, the expression of the soul that is free and flowing eternally without of lessons. When you begin to cycle out of your lesson groups, not only are you not choosing to perceive the same, you're not choosing the same, you're not believing the same, you're not identifying in the same way. Therefore, you're cycling out of lesson groups and into higher visions of self. This is a path of mastery. It's a path of embodiment. And it's a path of soul. And from there, a channel truly opens up. Your inward channel becomes open and expressive as the fullness of the self. If not, if those aspects of self are not being visited, viewed, and reviewed on a moment-to-moment, day-to-day basis, then the channel is based and it's supported with external unseen guides, which come there are those that we believe are there, which are passed along through the psychic belief system of the collective and projected outwards. And then we have a team of guides that are given to us upon birth to hold the frequencies of love, of forgiveness, of grace. Those are the frequencies that the aspects of our soul that we have not known, because we are still connected into lesson groups. Lesson groups, karmic cycles do not give us access to those frequencies. And that's why we cannot uphold the grids or be an active channel or an activator within the grids unless we are embodying the fullness of ourself through applied awareness. That's the only way we can reach the frequency of our soul that can actually retain and obtain the grid system of the planet, the electromagnetic currents. If not, not only will you simply not be able to perceive the frequencies, but you would not be able to uphold them, because your perception is always going into the past, the projected future, or it's focused on being consistently dependent upon the guides, which are only there until you fulfill your cycles out of your lesson groups. Then they move on. They're released from this planet. They can move on to other service. Therefore, our guides, the unseen guides for the collective, the unseen guides for the individual, are not meant to remain. They are simply here to be a frequency support for the system of the planet. Therefore, consistently depending and leaning upon guides is a direct reference point to a soul that has not yet begun its cycle out of its karma. And it doesn't mean it's not on the path, but if it's also not being addressed or reflected, that is a part of the process, then the soul, channel or not, might not have an awareness that it's necessary for that process to be in motion. Now, of course, not everyone agreed to this, but for those that did, they have an opportunity to become the guardians of the grid. Now, I've always understood this as my path. Therefore, my path has been always and ever guided to fulfill that mission, which is the embody of unity consciousness. Unity consciousness is not something up here that we go into or pull into ourselves. Unity consciousness is mind, body, and soul unified from a state of conscious awareness, applied awareness. It is only obtained through the embodiment of the mind, the body, and the soul. Beautiful, Christopher. Yeah, and so as we progress in choice and as we progress in perception, we begin to gain access to this system. Now, again, I cannot overstate, and I know I say it a lot, and I feel, I know that those that are directly connected to me in this way, they hold the understanding of the importance of this. But if you do not have a mirror or someone that holds a higher mastery of you, meaning their mastery of self is directly reflected of your mastery of self, and they can reflect to you what is really being brought through. Many people will go to express something, and 9 times out of 10, they are still unconsciously expressing from a version of them that they have not yet illuminated. And then there's also an aspect that once it is illuminated, is that person accepting and surrendering of the illumination? Are they willing to accept that that's the version of them that's expressing, or are they going to attempt to deny it or fight the guidance? If you're not in a full state of surrender and acceptance, if you fight the mirror, then you're fighting that illuminated aspect within yourself, and you're not allowing and accepting. So everything that is brought through, in terms of activation is not just what's out there coming in here. It's what's in here that's being expressed outward, because that's what's truly happening. It all begins on a microcosm quantum level. That's where everything reverberates from. That's where all things are moving through. And so by the time, even when we're connecting to, we look up in the sky at the stars and the planets, what we are actually seeing in the physical, a lot of that, as I've spoken into, has already moved out of time and ascended into a higher aspect of its own pathway of ascending. With a planet, a star system, we don't see everything in the physical as it really exists. We can't. We are not yet in a dimensionality externally. It has not yet manifested externally for that to be. And therefore, the only way that it can actually be perceived is internally. And we are meant to step into our contracts with physical guides that provide the mirror and the reflection from a state of embodied mastery. Again, the unseen guides were there to uphold the frequency as a point of reference. And once the physical masters start coming online, they take over the system, or they take over the grids. They are the ones that are upholding. We are the ones that are upholding. But it's the contract of self-discovery through what identity of you is showing up. Not just all the wonderful, powerful words of power that are expressed, not just the Merkaba, not just the rainbow body, not just the cosmic currents, not just those things. But when you're expressing those things, what identity of you is expressing? What version of your ego is it filtering through? Because if you're not consistently peeling back the layers of ego and then embodying the ego, then you're always going to be perceiving through a filter. And therefore, you don't fully gain the fullness of the embodied mind, body, soul. Again, that's why having a mirror is so important. And it's also extremely powerful. I know when I'm reflecting for those that are part of my group space, it's not just powerful. It's not me that's the powerful reflector. It is them. When they are able to receive the reflection and then ascend and expand, it is something else. It is one of the most blessed, beautiful things that I have ever experienced. Activations like this are powerful, they're amazing, and they're wonderful, and they're beautiful experiences. But every moment in between that is just as powerful and just as amazing. And it comes from the ability to be in a space of consistent witness. And those that are expanding and embodying the channel are those that are willing to show up every day in surrender and acceptance and transparency and say, this is the version of me that's here today. They're expressing what's in their field, what's showing up within them, because any thoughts that cross your mind, you're thinking them. Whether they're conscious or unconscious, they're coming through. So if you're not expressing, you might not even know what unconscious aspects of you are still showing up. A beautiful sister even expressed the other day in the group space, in reflection and mirror to another sister, one of the first things she said was, I'm not sure what I'm going to say, but I know I'm going to, I know I'm meant to be speaking into something here. And one of the things I came back and reflected to her was, one of the identities of her that she's been working through embodying is that version of her that says, I don't know, that doesn't understand. And when I reflected that back to her, she was like, oh my goodness, I did say that. I didn't even realize that I said that. That's that unconscious aspect that still shows up. Had it not been illuminated, illumination is the highest witness, because then you're called back to reviewing a version of you that you expressed that you weren't even aware of, so that you can feel it, experience it, accept it, acknowledge it, and it can become embodied. It really is powerful, isn't it, Elisa? Because we don't even know what we are. We don't even realize what aspects of us are speaking until it is illuminated. The power of illumination, the power of intuition, that's what this ascension is all about. It is about the intuitive and illuminated self. And many will claim that this is a part of what they're doing, simply because the version of them that is afraid of being illuminated doesn't want to step up to the light. There is something that they want to retain that is not wanting to be illuminated. Therefore, they will consistently hide. But if that version is allowed to speak, allowed to express, and allowed to be witnessed, the power in the expression is unbelievable. And you talk about the power of an embodied channel. When I no longer was connecting into my guides. Now, for some, when the guides move on, it can feel like you've lost, like you quite literally have had a death in the family. It can feel extremely, extremely upsetting when they depart your field. When that depends on it depends on how much karma you came into this cycle with. If you have a lot of karma, it's going to be way more intense when your guides depart. If you really didn't have that much karma, you might not even really notice it. The reason why we have the references to, let's say, Yeshua, the resurrection from the cross, the rebirth, 90 days. So 90 days is also our cycle in the after we pass on, we have a 90-day review. This is something I've spoken into before, but I'm going to speak into it again. When we are shifting out of our karmic cycle groups into our higher contracts of ascension, we go through the same process as if we were in a afterlife review. Since we are shifting out of cycle groups, cycling out of time, cycling out of lesson groups, we are also cycling out of our post-life reviews. We no longer need those, because those were there to show us when we didn't make choices that were there and available for us, when we didn't master certain lessons. So we revisit those. That's available for us now. That is the whole point of cycling out of time, is so that you can gain access in every now moment to your post-life review. That's what this is all about. That's my group space is dedicated to that. That's what we are reviewing in every moment. When I reflect back as an earthbound guide, what is in the field of self, what is within the self that is being put into the field, and what version is showing up, there's an ability to review the self in every moment. This also happens for them, of course, without me, but that directive, that current, that contract is what's instated for our group space, of course, as well as all the activations and the codes and everything else. But that is a necessity in order to anchor. So because we're cycling out of that, it is necessary for us to review it now. If those cycles are not being reviewed, and I'm not just talking about shadow work, I'm not just talking, it's a part of shadow work, if you will, but this is a little bit different. I feel it's a little bit more shadow work in the way that I have understood it and the way that I see it. People go deep into this inward darkness, it seems like, to really understand the depths of the karma. This is something, what I'm speaking into is available in every now moment. You can access it in every moment. Every thought you think, every feeling you feel, every belief you carry, every perception of another, which is a direct reflection of the perception of self, it's here now. And if you are in an activated awareness, if you're present now, because that's real time, is now, then you're able to perceive everything. It's all here. A lot of times when we talk about what's here now, we're talking about the cosmic things. We're talking about the guides. We're talking about all the magical things, which is wonderful. But what else is here now is an ability to discover the self and master the self. The only way to inherit the earth, the only way to inherit the guides, which are there holding the frequency, the only way to inherit the grids is to no longer remain singularly focused on that part. To have that as a layer. But if that's the main thing a person is focused on as ascension or ascending into a higher dimension, they're missing the true ascension. The true ascension is perception. It's awareness. All of the other stuff, all the other magical stuff, it's already there. It already exists. We are here to master the self so that we can embody those aspects, so that we can embody the planet, so that we no longer come back to this planet bound by karmic cycle groups. Doesn't mean you have to come back, but because it's karma, you will. Your soul will always come back to retrieve that aspect of itself. It will always come back. Therefore, there's a part of you that's always anchored into the karma until you master the choice. So this is why you've heard me speak into this so much, and the nuances are something that is quite profound. So one of the final things I'm going to speak into is a lot of times we don't even know where our own focus is taking us, again, until we have the mirror. Another reflection, again, from the one-on-one, when I had reflected some aspects back to this beautiful sister, as soon as she received them, and she was like, yes, oh my goodness, that makes sense, right? She was acknowledging, she was realizing, she had the realization and the awareness. And immediately upon receiving, her focus directly went into, well, I need to do this because this is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I need to do. When we start even speaking in that way, we're leading away from the presence of now into the projected future. Most people, when they speak something, they have no awareness of where their energy is going and where it is coming from. So the power, again, the power of mirror and the power of witness cannot be overstated. It is an opportunity to witness where your energy is going, what version of you is bringing it forward, and if it's still cycling through choices that are anchored in karma. Again, we can go in reviewing past lives, but past lives isn't how we regain the multidimensionality of our soul, because your past lives are cycling through you right now. Every single choice you're making is based upon a past life until you choose differently. So your past lives aren't about knowing where you were, what part of Egypt you were in, whether you were queen, whether you were king, whether it was Atlantis, whether it was Lemuria. None of that matters. What matters is the choice that accrued the karma so that you cycle out of those parallel existences. That's a true multidimensional soul integration. And a true multidimensional soul integration is available in every single now, which is the presence of awareness. When the presence of awareness is being applied and it knows what it's thinking, what it's feeling in relation to what it's thinking, what version of self that is coming from, how it's choosing to step into the perception, and if it's choosing to shift perceptions or not. There's so much more. All of that becomes a part of the self. That's multi-dimensional because each linear perception is viewing from a parallel linear point in time, which feels, sees, and perceives in that linear way. If you're not receiving a mirror to reflect that linear version back to you so that you can feel it in the now, which reverberates through space and time, then you will always perceive it, feel it, and understand it from that linear perception, which cannot perceive itself multidimensionally. The mirror, which is a self that is a guide that has mastered, again, this is when I realized the availability of this, as it has been a consistent part of my path, I realized the power of it. having a space that is fully dedicated to that so that everyone can step into their mastery. It is an availability of gaining multi-dimensional viewing, which doesn't reside in the past or the present. I mean, the past or the future, it resides in the present. And many people think that past or future is some lifetime. It's so much more than that. It can even be, like I said, when you're going into a conversation and you're leading into the speaking and you go to say something, where you're expressing from, what you express, how you express it, the tone of expression, and the version of self all determine, is it coming from past, projected future, or now? Because if it was coming from now, those are unified, which means you're viewing your past self and your possible projected future self simultaneous to the now, but that's not what you're choosing. You can see them, you can feel them, you can understand them, but you are not operating from them. This also gives you the ability to receive others and be the mirror for others as the earthbound guide, as the earthbound master that has regained their multidimensional perception. And so moving forward, I feel like this is one of the main things that is here for us. It gives us an opportunity to really bring in this new age without getting stuck in 4D, because the soul that is able to move on to 5D is the soul that is no longer trapped in any cycle of time. It holds a master perception of time, which means it no longer gets stuck in any point of singular dimensionality. So that is what's here. As we move into this activation, if anyone is ever interested, by the way, in joining the group space, in stepping into receiving yourself fully, mastering yourself fully, receiving very, very powerful activations, very similar to what I bring through here, but even more powerful, because the contract of that space is based in the fullness of yourself. The space is there to provide you with a consistent mirror, guide, master guide. I'm always there assisting, reflecting, and mentoring. We have a WhatsApp group, so you have access to it every single day, and I bring through gatherings every single week, plus public gatherings as well. So sometimes I'll bring through sub gatherings or I have the main gathering. Sometimes I'll bring through some that prepare us for the main gathering. So there is a lot, and it's donation based. It's donation based because every soul will get out what they put in, not only monetarily, but energetically on a day-to-day basis. You can get out of it as much as you want if you choose. But this also means that you choose to show up. You choose to no longer be in shadow. Thank you, Eliza. Thank you. You choose to no longer hide. You choose to be in a state of illumination. And they do. Shifts happen incredibly quickly, immediately. As soon as you speak upon something, as soon as you open yourself up in reflection, I will invite everyone. So, hey, what's everyone witnessing today? What have you witnessed in relation to others? How are you responding to others? How are you reflecting to others? What's showing up in your field of consciousness? And sometimes I'll ask, I prefer it if everyone chooses to drop that in on their own, but it's kind of an automatic thing where you have an opportunity to speak into that. And of course, the reflections that we have after our gatherings are very profound when everyone speaks into and reflects how they experience the gathering. It's an opportunity for me to reflect if you were experiencing from a space that pulled you away from the self, or if you were fully invested in the self in a state of conscious applied awareness, you get everything from it. And I want everyone to get everything from it. And so because what I've witnessed is that if a soul is used to going into the visualization of an experience, they'll journey away from. And this has happened because the images project here, and we follow the images and we go on a journey, which means we journey away from the self. So especially like we're always in the quantum. If you're going on a journey out here with Isis or Anubis or whoever, you're not in your quantum applied awareness. You're not in yourself. You're out here journeying with an image. So another thing to reflect really quickly is that our unseen guides, they are not identified. We have consistently identified guides as what we believe they are. Our unseen guides, a lot of times now we do call them angels. We call them angels. We have dragons. What are they really? They are holders of frequency. And they, outside of what we identify them as, they do not have an identity. They are there in service. They have never incarnated into any karmic cycle, which means they are simply consciousness. They are spirit. They are not identified. And so when we identify them in a specific way, when we're saying frequencies are in my field, it's not necessarily incoming frequencies that a lot of people are perceiving. They're picking up on their field of spirit guides, and therefore they are identifying what they believe they are. They're unseen for a reason. Just like your monad has no identity. Your monad is the original spark of creation. It's not an angel or a dragon or this or that. It's a spark of creation. It has no identity. The reason why is because it is everything. It is all thing. Now, all the little extensions of your monad, which is what we are here right now, in our lowest dimensional density form, are the expression. So it is an availability to really allow you to free yourself. Because when I realized, I was like, I'm not seeing and perceiving things in the way others are, but that was such a freedom, because it meant I was no longer trapped. I was no longer allowing myself to remain steady in a belief just because others did. Again, it does not mean that those beings do not exist. I'm simply speaking about what is here and what is available for us to witness if we allow. It just simply allows the unseen to be the unseen. It is the unseen because it has not been identified. It is the unseen. If we've seen it, then we say, oh, I've seen a dragon, right? I've seen this, I've seen that, I've seen this, I've seen that. That is the seen. That is the image. That is the identification. The unseen is the unseen, and it is meant to be the unseen. So therefore, if we simply allow it, we can experience it for what it is, a support system, a frequency. And once you begin to master the self, you embody the versions of self that were not able to access those frequencies because the soul was still split through the lesson groups, the karmic choices, the identities, the ego, all projected versions of self. So this is what's available for everyone always. And I invite anyone that would really like to experience the fullness of themselves to step into the group with us. And the most you're gonna, if you come now, the only thing that is required is surrender and acceptance. There are going to be things that are reflected to you that you're not usually aware of, that you don't normally see. We have versions of us that like to show up and say, but I don't understand. There are other versions of self that show up and say, oh yeah, I know. And those two are the polarities of ego. The I don't know and the I know everything, which means if either one of those show up, you're not in a state of surrender or acceptance, which is neutral. So that invitation is open. Again, as we step into this, I also have my one-on-ones open now for my normal one-on-ones, which are a little bit of everything. They're $155 to $211 for approximately 2 hours, maybe 2.5. I'm not going to go over 2.5 now. And then I have the Merkaba activation, an individual Merkaba activation, DNA upgrades, and releasing of any imprints. Also, the releasing of out of time, the cycling out of time is releasing of the imprints, your implants, your imprints of conditions that determine your choices. So this gives you an opportunity to really start harnessing the ability to not only perceive, but to choose differently, which is going to cycle you out of your karma. Those are $111 for 90 minutes. And then the Merkaba activations are really powerful. And then I also have, I have a gathering coming up on 10/10 for the public. It is $66. And we're not doing this because it's a portal date. It's an easy date for me to remember. And I've been guided to start bringing through monthly upgrades to the collective in frequency as guardian, as one that is upholding the currents of the grid system and consistently applying everything that I speak into. It's been brought forward. I stepped into service, that contract of service. So I will be bringing that through once a month. It has been an invitation to no longer appear or approach portal dates as portal dates. That also is a cycle of time. And if we remember that we're cycling out of time, we are not going to honor the seasons, the moon cycles, the identity markers of the moon cycles, the portal dates. All of those are keeping the collective stuck in a cycle. And for those in my group space, we witnessed this on Lionsgate. We were like, this is not, we were like, why are we even stepping into it in this way? Because this is not what's really here. And it was a beautiful, beautiful awareness and realization that when we are consistently ascending into this, we are cycling out of identity in that way. And this means if we say, oh, well, yeah, I get that. I know that. I understand that. But we still speak into it in a way that identifies, then again, it's that version of us that likes to show up and say, I know, wanting to claim the highest, but not really choosing to apply it, because applying it would require a gaining of self, a multidimensional gaining of soul self. That again, many have not stepped into that contract yet. Doesn't mean you can't. It just means it's not being chosen. There must be a mirror to reflect. Must be a mirror to reflect. Oh, I love that, Eliza. And for me, it's actually 222 as well, because it's 122 at 100% battery. So that's amazing. All right, you guys, we're getting ready to start the activation. Thank you for receiving. If anyone is interested in joining or booking a session, like I said, the 10/10 is $66. It'll be approximately an hour and 15 minutes. It's going to be an hour straight of channeled codes, encoded frequencies. Unlock itself, to unlock the codes, to unlock the DNA. Again, this goes hand in hand with everything I've spoken into here. So when we go into this, when I bring it through, it's setting you up for an availability, a greater availability of stepping into an open channel, an embodied version of self. There is a path that is directly correlated to that. So I always invite everyone. It's simply a choice. It's simply a choice. Do you want to step into it or not? And if you do, you have an open availability to do so and begin your journey. I know many will say that, well, I have everything I need. I don't need anyone. We came into this planet with a group of guides for a reason. And the reason why we are now shifting into physical guides is because there are those in the physical that have chosen the path, which has been able to gain everything that isn't fully perceived because of ego and identity. Even in relation to the unseen guides, you have an ability to gain that through one in the physical that can be that reflection at all times, and therefore you continue your pathway of upholding that mastery and that guidance within yourself. It's very, very powerful. And for me, anytime I'm offering this for others, I receive upgrades for myself. I mean, it's very, very powerful. I'm able to see, perceive, and understand even more within myself as one that is applying that as well. Gotcha, Christopher. Gotcha. And thank you for sharing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. All right, everyone. It's 5454111. Okay, my loves, if you want to take a quick bathroom break or anything before we get started, please go ahead, and we're going to start the activation. I am going to, I was considering going and getting my microphone, but if everyone can hear me okay, then I'm not going to do that. Please let me know if you can hear. Please let me know if you can hear that singing bowl. Oh, and another thing, and I'm grateful you spoke into what you spoke into, Christopher. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So what we feel and what we sense, even our senses are linear. What we experience through our senses is linear until it's not linear. So what we see, what we feel, what we hear, and therefore we begin to understand more of ourselves through more of what we can perceive, which gives us an expansion on what we can feel, what we can hear, and eventually what we see, especially if for those that are very visual, the visuals will begin to shift. Of course, everyone came in here with a contract of their clairs as to which clairs would open, which clairs would be active, and of course everyone has access to that. And also the clairs, that's the more that you are tuning into your senses, the more that you will activate your extra senses. However, your channel is a central pillar of consciousness, and it is only embodied through consistent applied conscious awareness through the consistent embodiment of mind, body, and soul through the mirror. And therefore, having that higher mirror or higher frequency to reflect back to you from a space that can perceive the all along with you gives you an expansion of your clairs as well as a greater embodiment of your central channel. And your central channel eventually, once all of you has been perceived and received to fulfill the cycle of your karmic lesson group, then you will have an embodied channel, and it will just consistently expand from there. For me, everything that I receive is my central channel. It is me. It's always, it's always coming through. It's coming through now. It's here now. I no longer have to stop and tune in. I'm always tuned in. I'm always attuned. I'm always receiving, and I'm always channeling. And of course, this is something I've said for many years now, and it's only grown. The more I tell you, the biggest shift that I had was when I chose to no longer follow the main spiritual groups just because they were well known and just because that's what everyone was doing. When I began making a choice to no longer go that direction, I began to realize the versions of me that were choosing that from ego, that were choosing that to belong. And then that in relation to a lot that's happened, of course, in my reality with my loved ones and everything else, again, has given me an opportunity to consistently master, and I pass that along to others all the time. And if in terms of perception and our new experience. A lot of times we feel like experiences are something that we have, like we have an experience because something physical happened. A true experience is one that happens through a shift in perception. And so we only shift in perception again with the illumination of self. We can choose to shift in a lot of perceptions that we gain through ourself, through our own awareness, the nuances of our own self that are going to be hidden from us because of our own ego and our own contract that we're meant to step into a contract with others, and therefore that contract fulfills the higher service group. And so our experiences are not just the manifestation of the physical. The experience is the choice, the differentiation in choice, a different perception, therefore a different experience. And it simultaneously overlaps itself. So I thank you all for receiving. We are now going to step into the activation. I would invite everyone to just take a few deep breaths and begin bringing your awareness even deeper into the now. Even our connection with words of power changes when we embody our channel. When we are standing in a state of guardianship of frequencies, which means we are guardians for a reason, we are able to uphold from a state of neutral sovereignty, which is a pure channel. It is a clear channel, but it is a pure channel because there are no longer filters that everything is coming through. A pure channel, an embodied channel, is very powerful. It is felt. It is very, very intense in its electromagnetic currents, and it only intensifies. And it also is able to access the new polarities, which are dualistic in nature, which are directly correlated to the activation of the new gene code or the DNA, the 13th strand. Those are only responsive to the currents of the electromagnetic currents that are higher. We say higher. What do we mean by higher? It's higher in hertz. It's higher in frequency, as we say, but it's higher in perception. It's higher in awareness. Allowing yourself to be fully embraced, fully encompassed in a state of neutrality. Now, neutral and neutrality, the heart, means it is not extended in one way or the other. It's not extended in one belief. It is not extended into one feeling. It is not extended into one perception. It is not perceiving or feeling in a, let's say, joyful, happy way. That's an identity marker of emotion. Feeling, and the feeling I'm speaking into here, is in reflection of electromagnetic currents. So just allowing yourself to breathe. And through the breath, you will begin to feel, receive, and access. I'm also assisting by connecting into and through the field of consciousness, working as and within the field of consciousness, directly correlated with each of you, conscious awareness. That is also a reflection of unity consciousness. When the presence of awareness is coming from an embodied channel of consciousness. The clairs, the psychic, it does not channel consciousness. It is either supporting an influx of consciousness, or it is just directly operating outside of in some way. Doesn't mean the person is not conscious and aware, but they're not receiving. It might not be a receiving from the central point. And I simply bring these into the awareness just so everyone has an awareness of what exists. I'm not saying one is better than the other or one is good and one is bad. It's just simply what is available and what is chosen, and what is chosen because that is what is usually comfortable. And just taking a moment to also reflect that a lot of people on the spiritual path still choose to go into spaces and groups where they can receive answers, right? Wanting to know the answers to the laws of the universe, wanting to know the answers of what the ancestors are saying, wanting to know the answers of what the cosmic groups are saying, which again is a diversion away from mastery of self. It doesn't mean that those things don't exist. Again, when I speak that, it just means that's where the majority of people's focus is. When in truth, all of that is accessible through you, through your awareness, through your inward channel. If you are on a path of deepening into your own understanding of self, you can receive any of that at any time. Let us begin opening and expanding the channel. Opening and expanding the field of consciousness. Opening and expanding from within the field of consciousness. Just flowing and breathing out from the heart. Opening, 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 opening. Opening through the central portal of the heart. Opening through the central portal of the wing space. Opening through the central portal of the heart. Opening through the central portal of the wing space. Opening through the secondary portals of the shoulder blades, left and right. Opening, 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 opening. Opening, 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 expanding, expanding, expanding in preparation for receiving. And as everything is opening, I would invite everyone to tune into what's here for you. What are you aware of within yourself? Calling in and accessing the collective contract. I accept, I receive. Arikutukuriari, asiki, arikutakariasi, atakariatakariatukuria. Indari, asiki, arikutukuriasi, akarikitiki, sukutukuriasi, atakariasikiki, arikua, isikua, 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 sukruku, sukua. Tidia sandara tukuria, tatatatatatatatatikia, sutututututututututututututututututututukua. So just now bringing in and allowing the frequency, the energy, the contract, the collective contract that is flowing through, that is being activated here in this transmission. Just allowing that to inflow through the central. It is also settling into the field of the energy bodies. Inda isekia rukukiri akurak asi arik asi arik asi arik asi arik asi arik asi rukosia ari asi ari asi ari asi ari asi ari asi rukosia aka a isi a. Deep breath. I would like for you to do a quick scan of your body, beginning at your scalp. I would like for you to see if your scalp is relaxed. As you take a deep breath, do you feel your scalp move? If so, you will be able to witness that your scalp is normally tensed. And by the way, a tense scalp, hair falling out, baldness is also directly correlated to support and strength within the self. If your own flow of energy is not able to be consistently open because parts of you are tensed, then parts of you retain that and the cells will die. They will get stuck and die. Energy gets stuck. It can't flow. Also, too, if you have any tinnitus or arthritis, bruising, any type of inflammation. By the way, that's a reflection of anger, aggression that has been stored within the body, and it is directly inflamed in some way. You can also end up burnt with burns because you're quick, you're moving too quickly, you're not in a state of higher awareness. And some people will have what looks like little burns that will show up, little blisters, directly correlated to anger, aggression. Any type of stuck energy will always show up in the body. Just allowing yourself to do a scan and seeing what parts of you are tight and tense, and just breathing and relaxing, breathing and relaxing, breathing and relaxing. Scanning your hands, scanning your arms, scanning your legs, your calves, your hips, your feet. Making sure your legs and hips are not tensing up. And if you're tensing up in your hips, it's probably because that, again, it goes back. Unworthiness will show up in the hips, in the pelvic area. Also, grief and sadness, I am hearing and receiving and feeling, can be directly also exchanged for aggression and anger, arthritis. So just opening. We're going to begin clearing the field and clearing from within the channel. You might begin to feel a lot opening in your stomach. Opening, clearing, opening up the central channel, opening up the crown, clearing the third eye. Sia da mararasin, mararasin, da mararasin, 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 marasin, 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 marakua, ishinda, ishinga, amarak asinda, masinda, arak asinda, masinda, arak asinda, masinda, arak masinda, arak 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 nana masanda ishina matak ari asinda marak asinda masinda masinda arak atak tak 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 akik arkuk amakuk. And just feeling the crown, the third eye, the field beginning to open even more. Opening, clearing in the lower. Imarararara mindia marararara mananana marananana mananana mananana maranana mananana 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 Marakatakanda padayanda karik matakatakaria matakatakaria mariatakatakaria matakatakaria 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 urku. Allowing the opening of the lower dantian, and just taking a moment in preparation for the waves, beginning to feel, and from this space, it might even begin to feel as if everything is turning and dissipating into one, where your physical body and your energy bodies, because your physical body is a body of energy, where all energies begin to coalesce and coincide. And declaring the imprint or the frequency imprint from this contract and agreement is now infiltrating. This is really coming in through the back of the neck. Yeah, I'm really feeling that for the collective soul, there is an aspect. Of course, it won't fully happen in this live because you play a role in the reclamation. You play a role in the unity of the collective soul by being in the choices and applying the choices, as was aforementioned earlier in this live. However, there is an availability right now as we move to this activation and this cellular dump to witness any aspects of you that have been limiting you through some sort of collective entanglements, where you're still holding on to some belief, where you're still moving into and choosing and agreeing to be a part of a collective application of your own self, groups, family, friends, in some way, where you're still not choosing to fully witness yourself. And it's not just that. You are still choosing, you're still leaning into choices that are repeating collective cycles. We have an opportunity here to inherit and basically repair this gap, this opening, which I'm really feeling in the back of the neck, around the crown, the shoulders, the throat, where a lot of belief is projected outward, to really not only repair that, but for each person to view within themselves the contract you're holding right now, which prohibits you from transcending into a higher version of yourself. And a contract within yourself is a choice. It's an agreement. It's the way you view yourself in relation to the collective. It also shows you why you choose to gather, what groups you gather in, what the intention of it is, what beliefs are shared, which aspect of you is still being cycled in those spaces. And maybe it's shared between friends, maybe it's shared between family, maybe it's shared in spiritual circles, or all of the above. This is here for everyone. Allowing it to be viewed, allowing it to be accepted. And as that is being viewed, beginning the encoded frequency activation. Inasia Koreasia Namariasate, Mariasate, 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 Rukotikia Sia Tarani Mate, Rukosia Mariati, Asaki Mariata, Isia Mariata, Asi Mariata, Asi Mariata, Asi Mariata, Asi Mariata, Asi Mariata, Asi Maria Kurkosi, Mariata Karin, Mariata Ke, Mariata Ke, Rukosi, Mariata Ke, Sia Mariata Ke, Sia Makade, Uriku, Ishiata Karia Sukoria Siki, Rikuta Korea Sia Makariate, Uriku, Urik, Asimak A, Asimak A. Asimak A, Asimak A, Asimak Ari, Akuri, Asimak A, Si Ari, Asi, Arik Asi, Amak Ori Asi, Arik Mukor Ari, Arik Imak Orik Ari, Imak Arik Akurik Asi, Marik Ori Asi, Marik Ori Asi, Marik Ori Asi, Arik Orik Ashimak A, Shimak A, Shimak Arik Asi, Mak Arik A, Mak Arik A, Mak Arik Akuri Asi, Mak Ari A, Suu. Yan naman maniandayan nananamanayandanay ukatayan na manadarayanday uri isi Maria tayo siya katay uri asi ari asi uri osi mak-a. Just taking a moment. Break ya tuku atak ay si amak utay rik siki rik emru si imare rik si mare maria sia urik osia ata sukuma Mesia Rukosia Mariguria Sia Margatake Ukote Ukariata Koreata Kurkukua. Riasike calling forth white diamond flame. Maria Tokoria Makatake, Urukutaka Marikatake, Makatakoria Matake, Urukutokoria Makatake, Sianarani, and Nanani, and Nanani, and Nanani, and Nanani, and Nanani, and Niani, and Madakua, in Nananani, and Nananani, and Nonomanani, and Nanamani, and Nonoa, in Namananai, and Namananai, and Namananai, and Namananakurku. Yan na 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 yan na 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 kurkuwa yan na 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 kurkasi ushini atayuri asiyan na namadande uku yatake sututu yan na 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 naman na 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 tu 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 inasekere ko si nararakuku. Just taking a moment for allowing it in, allowing it in, allowing it in. Shina te uru asina ari asuna ari asuna ari asunda. Rikutukuri asina anda ushina asanda ukud aru asinda at ad uri akuri ukoa. Inda ate I uri anda adshundo uti asinda ari osinda ari aku. Shinda ari asiki amak uri asinda makuri asinda arik uri asinda. Another spot being witnessed in the right shoulder. Repairing, repairing, repairing. Ishingari arik oshinda ari akurik ashinda arik orik ashinda arik orik ashinda arik atak ari asukuri asiki ak ari asiki ak ari asiki arik asiki a urku. Calling for all reparations. Ari 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 arik osia ak ari ari asiki ari asiki ari a. All reparations to the fields. All reparations to the auric field. You're really going to feel an expansion and opening of your energy now. Shakuyanda, Shakuyanda, Shakuyanda. Repairing, repairing, repairing. Mia siataiuria, siataiuria, setiuria, sokuriatai, tiokurikukua. Mia siataiuteo teoria tikiendaria tokuriataki, rukutukuriata kuriata kuriata kuriataku. Now just allowing yourself to be in the presence of your fields, of your bodies, allowing yourself to feel this feeling. And as always, even if you're not used to speaking or expressing the frequencies, I would invite you to do so. Your throat chakra is there for a reason. Your voice carries the vibration. Just allow yourself to open and express. What is the frequency? What do the frequencies sound like to you? Shanda isi mata ata urusa ata 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 merkuri asa 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 merkurik 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 as 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 merkuruk uku asiki atak arak asiki arak atik isiki arak asiki arak as. And now urko ashi arak asi arak asiki au. We're going to go down into the cellular. Rikosi ari ari isi ari asi ari asi ari asi ari asi ari asi. Going into the nucleus. Ari ananaya tokoyananaya takuriananaya tokuriananaya tokurukua. Yo, 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 yo. Sia kai ai ai o te ori asina ai 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 ya na ya ta su ra ku 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 ku. Going into the nucleus, going into the nucleus. Ariataka sata e uri ate ua a sa inu urukosi anda erukosiki anda aru osuku. Opening, opening, opening the nucleus of each cell. Rikotake anda yuko yanda yukuri yanda ke uruko ya ya And resting now in the activated open nucleus. We'll begin moving and activating and expressing the activated encoded frequencies, which are anchoring into the nucleus of each cell, cracking open the microcosm and providing a cellular dump. You could have many things coming forth from this. You could have emotions, you could have physical sensations, you could have realizations, you could have all of the above. Allow it to come, allow it to flow. Cellular dump in motion, dumping, 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 all stored in energy or koyanda easy sakai udak mi gu easy mak opening opening calling forth, opening all meridians, opening all pathways inda easy uru asi ima ru usimi ru umiki tik easy dak anda or asi miki 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 Ruk Osi so so opening up all systems, opening up all systems, opening up the blood. Opening, opening. Opening up the spinal fluid. I, sorry, asi ak I, orik asiki amak oki ak dokori ari esiki calling forth all imprints. Ariatakai uruku asia ya watake in the AC urukatakai matakuriati asa Inasi ate uri asina ari asina ari asina ari asina ari asina ari asina ruk osia sia I ari sa ata asi calling all to the surface, calling all to the surface, calling all to the surface, calling all, opening, calling it to the surface, Ari atakori ari urk asiki ak allowing it to come, allowing it to come to the surface. Calling it all from the emotional body. Ari asi, tiki, ari shki It's going to get really intense. Now the electromagnetic currents are pretty intense at this point. Opening, clearing, opening, clearing, opening, clearing, opening, clearing. Just really allowing the cells to open and expand, allowing everything to come to the surface. We are holding the currents. We are opening everything. You are safe. You are held. Zoyandai and Deo Coriande and Deo Ritake and Deo Yandai and Deo Ricoa and Nananai and Nananai and Nananai and Nananai and Nananai and Nanan Yanani and Now all has been opened. All has been activated. Now everything is coming to the surface to be witnessed. As we move through the next wave, allowing there to be an understanding and an acknowledgement that everything that is coming to the surface is going to be recognized, realized, it's going to consistently appear until it is accepted, acknowledged, until you no longer choose to perceive or feel in certain ways that keep that energy trapped. Remembering that your perception and your beliefs, if they're not open to consistently shift, this doesn't mean that you know different things. It doesn't mean that you gain different information. New perceptions are available through an introduction of perception through, again, the mirror. Which consistently releases because then the energy is no longer stuck in a cycle of perception. This is why it is very important to be able to consistently move through different perceptions, different choices, which means viewing each aspect of self consistently. And now we're going to go through a wave of encoded frequencies anchoring into anchoring into the fields, anchoring into the cells, anchoring into the fields, anchoring into the cells.
marakatakatake, sia marakatakari, marakatakatake, sia takarak marakatake, sia marakatakatake, marakatake, sur, marakatake, sut, ha, ya, ha, marakatake, sia, ha, ya, sa, ta, ari, ukua, sa, sinara, rakaseo ruta sinar kateua. Ishananamatake dusia katake sutayari, rukutake sianavatate ore matatate uria matate tura. Ishinadara sinadara, rukusia nadara, sinadara, ariasete nudara, sinadara, Shutati nararatake sutai ina asina aria ina ina maria sia namarasia nana ina Inasa, hasina nanania, itek isia korease, urik andak esia tate, ushandara tiki, urkusa. Inanana shiokuda. Toroshindarara sia corianda sia teuria sateu kumata teu kuatateu. Ishandarara sia torishandarari anduru tik in dararati Yesu indararati su tuturia tiki mararatiki nararata coriata teru indararati aseteru andarasi and the teru asiandarate urkushiak a. Shoo, 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 shoo. You are so welcome, Tara. And now just taking a moment, the waves will move over and through. Yanariaruasiateua. Yanariateua. Just take a deep breath. Right now I'm increasing the magnetism around every single one receiving. Emitting waves of electric magnetic light.
Yanayo, yanayo, yanayo. Yanayayayo, ayayayo, ayayo. Yanarayo. Yanarayo. Yeah. 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 Yanasiki uru ate usanak tu ushi ata egu a. Tiksi ata te uru ni ate uri ate ushi ata inama udari asimata esu uri a se e u. Now, korea se uri odi ande ushi ate uruk ushi andak eruk uk a. Rapping, rikutike, sianari aseteru, 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 sianare, siakuria, siana eu. Rapping, 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 ayasekeru, asiakeru, 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 in white diamond flame, ariatekeru, atsande uri, asi, Mariotoke sutoshi ni aru o makuru asiki ma aru asi Inidioru sini mariate kiuru nasiata teuru akate ushiaka. Nisi ate uri asi nurushi makuru asi Please open and receive, allowing yourself to accept and be enveloped in the white diamond flame. Sateru Ishina de AC Ruk Oshi anchoring, 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 atoshi, layering, 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 anchoring, layering, anchoring, layering, anchoring, layering, anchoring, 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 layering, 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 daderate shinda in daderate in daderate in daderate in daderate in Turiate Oshi Atai Umakuri Ladarayan Darianda Tatayan Daratayan Darianta Orianda Tatarianda I Ru Siandara Tatarian 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 Rukute eshi ata uku. Rush. Tai ushi ata esu ura. Inda ashi inda ari isiaku all has been activated. Ari ata eshi atak ari atik esi arik atik esi arik atik esi arik atik e or undariusi ani ati 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 ari atatatatatatat arik atik esi arik tak arik usi shu 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 All has been activated. All has been integrated. All has been received. All is complete. Thank you. Please let me know in the comments if it feels aligned, what you're feeling, how you're feeling. Oh, thank you, Anne. I just saw your message. Thank you, beautiful. I'm so grateful that you are with us. And just allowing everything to settle in, to filter in. Now there is a lot that has spoken that is coming to the surface energetically. So over the next few hours, maybe even over the next few days, you will be noticing, witnessing things within your body, things within your mind. You'll be witnessing different aspects of you, maybe certain thoughts, cycles of thoughts, cycles of beliefs. They're directly correlated to cycles of feeling within the body. And so just allowing there to be an awareness, emotions, all of the stuff coming up. And allowing there to be that availability where it is visited and accepted in a state of neutrality, where you don't question it, you allow it, you accept it, you honor it. To bring it in, you understand it from a state of, that is me. Thank you. Thank you for showing me what I have been doing. Thank you for showing me what I have been creating. Thank you for showing me where I have not been aware of myself. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So if you allow yourself to approach it in this way, then you have an understanding from within yourself of what you yourself have been creating, what has been happening in your body. And again, a lot happens unconsciously. I cannot overstate how much happens unconsciously. So if you have an opportunity to step into an exchange where you can consistently witness this, I highly invite it. It will only enhance the activations here. Feeling it also very powerfully strong, moving through. Yes, 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 yes. So right now, even right now, I'm working, existing, not working, but expanding outward, directly correlated, connecting into the electromagnetic currents, related connecting. Allowing you to feel so that you may understand the electromagnetic currents. It's very strong, very strong. Intense feeling of magnetism. That's amazing, Christopher. Thank you for sharing. Hey, Eliza, that's exactly what your body needed, right? That's exactly what your body needed. And of course, always able to revisit the replay if necessary. This was, and this brought through on a physical, mental, soul level, everything that was necessary for each of you. And so everything that was shown, everything that was experienced was what was here, of course, what was necessary. And of course, as the cells start opening and releasing, there's a lot of energy being expanded and expended. And so if you guys do end up feeling like you need to rest, please do so. Allow your body to recharge and rejuvenate. And I'm being able to witness the oscillation, by the way, Christopher. That's amazing. Um, Thank you all for sharing your experiences. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Since I am opening up and stepping into offering a bit more through the one-on-ones, like I said, I'm opening my one-on-ones and opening up a little bit more in the one-on-ones, of course, always active in my group space. And then I'm going to begin offering the monthly upgrades. And this is going to be, consuming a bit more of my energy and my focus and awareness. So I look forward to consistently still bringing through lives on here. I'm not for sure if they will be as often, but I will do my best. And of course, if anyone is interested in stepping into receiving directly, everything is open right now. My one-on-ones are open again, beginning right now, and well, they're open, but nothing is available until the first week of next month. So if you would like to go ahead and get booked, please reach out and let me know. I will have my email in the description, and I will also have my Instagram so that everyone can reach me through either or. And yeah. Yes, yes, you are the creator of what happens in your body. Exactly. Exactly. And that's a beautiful thing to be aware of, because wherever we are focused, it's not even just what we are focused on, but how we are focused on it, what we are aware of, and how we are aware of it, right? It's a beautiful thing to be aware of, that what's actually happening in the body, right? What's happening directly in the correlation to the waves, right? Because what we are aware of is also what we are aware of. And how we are aware of it, we directly experience and feel the correlation of that. And again, so many nuances, so many nuances. I can actually feel through each soul right now, just feeling the different nuances. And there's a experience of self that happens, well, we're just going to leave it as it's already been spoken into. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so grateful to receive everyone here. I was going to speak into it again. I was like, oh, that's not necessary. It was here at the very beginning. So I'm grateful that that witness was here. I'm grateful for each of you that were able to witness something within yourself that had not been witnessed before, and also inviting in the realization or expansion of that from a space of, how is that directly correlated to choices you are making? How is that, are you even aware of that your perception is directly correlated to choices that you make? And I don't know if that was even in the awareness of some here, but allowing you to understand that your experience and your reflection of your experience directly reflects what you choose and how you choose it. It's very interesting, isn't it? A lot of times we just take oh, it's an experience of an activation, and it was an experience of an activation, but there's so much more. So thank you, thank you, thank you all for receiving. I am so grateful, as always, to just to gather and to bring this through and to have the moment with each of you. So as always, I look forward to experiencing this again with each of you. And if you would like to stay connected with me more, then I invite definitely stepping into the group space, as that is where my focus is at, unless I'm in my one-on-ones. So thank you all. Mwah. Sending you all my love, wrapping you in so much light, and I look forward to connecting with you all again soon. Until then, Adonai.